Okay. So my question for you guys was that whenever the lungs are placed on a piece of table, so what would happen? They are going to collapse. And why are they going to collapse? Due to the elastic forces, right? Elastic recoil, right? Similarly, when I just take out this chest wall and I just place it on a piece of table without any influence of the lungs. So what would happen as a result of that? Your chest wall would try to expand. Your chest wall. Hello? Okay. So what your chest wall are going to do, your chest wall is basically going to expand. You know that the chest wall is basically made up of ribs and there are some muscles present in between them. So what would happen? That your chest wall is basically going to expand, right? But whenever in a system, in a human body, basically lungs are present within this, like they're present under the influence of one another, right? So whenever I just place these lungs within the chest wall, so the chest wall would try to expand. While like the intrinsic nature of the chest wall is to expand, right? While the intrinsic nature of the lungs are to contract due to elastic forces, right? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. But what we have do is that we have placed a sticky glue in between them, right? A sticky glue like material in between them in order to make them a single system. So this sticky glue medium is basically your pleura, right? Your pleura is simply, you can imagine it's that sticky glue through which we have attached both of these systems. So the gluing medium, which is basically your pleura, is having a little bit potential space. So you should simply think of, if I'm contracting, if I'm pushing this part of pleura inward and this part of pleura outward, so won't there be a negative pressure? And this is a closed chamber. This is a closed chamber, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If from your chemistry lectures, if you remembered Boyle's law, you know what was your Boyle's law? You were having a closed chamber. We were just placing a piston on the top of that. And once we were pushing the piston downward, the pressure was increasing, right? So as the volume decreases, the pressure increases, right? Hello? Hello? Okay. And as
Yes.
we were pushing, as we were pulling the piston upward, so what happens? Volume was increasing and the pressure was decreasing, right? That was your Boyle's law, if you remember from your chemistry lectures, right? So can't this closed chamber be assumed as a good example of Boyle's law? Because in the Boyle's law, the first thing we should take a closed chamber. So your pleura is a closed chamber, a closed space, right? Hello? So if I'm just pulling it outward, if I'm just pulling it like, from this side, I'm just pushing it towards this side, and the chest wall is basically expanding it. So what would happen to the volume here? The volume is going to increase, right? We are pulling apart them from one another. It's same as we are pushing the piston upward, right? So if the volume is decreasing, what would happen to the pressure here?
Pressure decreases.
Pressure would decrease, right?
Yes.
So can't I say that the Boyle's law is going to apply here?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So can I say that in the end, if the pressure is decreasing, the pressure would decrease to a certain extent that it would become a negative pressure, right? Hello?
Yes.
And this negative pressure is basically going to help us during our breathing cycles, inspiration and expiration. How? You can simply assume that here we have a negative pressure. It's same as that of I'm just putting a suction pump here, right? A suction pump with negative pressure towards the alveoli. It's same as I'm pulling the alveoli outward to expand. So during inspiration, when I'm inspiring, what do I do to this wall? The chest cavity wall is increased, right? It increases. The chest cavity increases. So what would happen to the pressure? Pressure would decrease further, more negative, right? More negative. You can just simply assume I'm inspiring like that. What am I doing to my chest wall? I'm expanding the chest wall. If I'm expanding the chest wall, what am I doing to the pressure inside the pleura? I'm getting I'm getting it more to the negative values, right? If I'm getting it more to the negative values, these negative suctions are going to pull your alveoli outward, right? And this negative pressure is going to be experienced here, right? So if you have negative pressure here and a positive pressure here, right? So we know that air always flow from high gradient to low gradient. So the air in this way is going to flow into your lungs. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Similarly, when I'm expiring, I'm just decreasing the chest cavity size, right? If I'm decreasing the chest cavity size, I'm decreasing the volume. So what would happen to the pressure according to Boyle's law? Pressure is going to increase. If the
Increase.
pressure is increasing, I'm putting a positive pressure now here, right? As compared to the pressure outside in the environment, that is atmospheric pressure. So won't the air move outward from high pressure to low pressure now?
Yes.
So this was
Yes.
the entire concept of your inspiration and expiration, right? You should know that it's really important, right? Okay, another thing, whenever I just keep it in a system, you know, normally when I'm not inspiring, neither I'm expiring, right? Still my alveoli are open, right? Still my alveoli are open, right? Hello? So can I say that at rest, even my alveoli are open? So can I say that even at rest, we have negative pressure in the pleura? Because we know that as we just put it in a system, it's going to produce a negative pressure. That is -5. So -5 is only responsible for your alveoli to keep it open. To keep it open. If I need further air to push into the alveoli, I have to make it more negative. And how do I make that? Inspiration, increasing your chest cavity size, making it more negative. If I'm making it more negative, air is going to push inward, right? But if I want to expire, I again have to come towards -5, right? So for example, during inspiration is going to move towards -15 or -10. But if I want to expire that extra air, I again must be coming towards -5 value in order to only keep the alveoli open at your resting phases. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Okay. So this was the main concept you must be having, because it's going to help you. You know, it was, I would say, the skeleton of your respiratory system. If you know these mechanics, everything is going to be really easy for you guys. Okay. So let's discuss breathing and pressure, right? Normally, you know, we have three kinds of pressure: atmospheric pressure, we have our alveolar pressure, and we have our pleural pressure. The atmospheric pressure is a constant value, 760 mm of Hg, right? The alveolar pressure within the alveoli is dependent on this pleural pressure. Can I say that?
Yes.
Because as I'm making this pleural pressure more negative, this pressure is going to move into the alveoli. Like as I have already given you example, it's same as I'm just, you know, placing a suction pump here. And if I'm sucking up, like, you know, these alveoli, so it would tend to open more, right? And as it tend to open more, it's going to put air into your alveoli. So during inspiration, what happens is, I already discussed, I'm going to expand the chest cavity size. If I'm expanding the chest cavity size, you should imagine of the pleura. According to Boyle's law, what would happen? The volume is more, so the pressure is going to decrease. The normal pressure is -5. It means decrease means that it would be more negative, -10, -50, -20, let's suppose, right? So that way, you are just making a gradient for the air to flow from higher value towards lower value. In this way, you are expanding your alveoli, okay? But same as that of expiration, I'm compressing the chest wall. If I'm compressing the chest wall, I am decreasing the volume. If I'm decreasing the volume, the pressure is increasing. It's becoming more positive, right? So in forced expiration, I can just move towards positive value, right? But during normal expiration, I have to come towards -5. But forced expiration is different thing, because in forced expiration, I am providing an extra force. Like my abdominal muscles are going to contract, and I'm just squeezing the alveoli to, you know, push the air outward. That is forced expiration, as the name indicates. Okay. Okay. So now come the concept of equal pressure points. That's really important. Equal pressure point. Equal pressure point. And I believe a lot of students are, you know, It's really difficult for them to get the concept of equal pressure point, right? Can you guys just tell me what is equal pressure point? Anyone? Hello? 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 Are you guys able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, if you guys can hear me, so please just tell me what is equal pressure point. You guys already have done your physiology.
It's that point where the chest wall outward forces becomes equal to the inward lung forces at FRC.
Oh, so that's not the case. Okay, let me just tell you. For example, let me just take a single alveoli right here. And this alveoli is basically surrounded by your negative pleural pressure, right? Pleural pressure. So let's discuss forced expiration first, right? Forced expiration. Okay. So you can just keep one thing in mind. We already know that the nature of the lungs, like for example, if these are your lungs, right? They have elastic forces, right? And the elastic forces tends the lungs to collapse. Am I right? Right? For example, if I'm forcefully expiring, what do I mean by forceful expiration? For example, if I am just, squeezing my alveoli, if I'm increasing, okay, normally we have negative 5 mmHg pressure, which only keep your alveoli open. But during forceful expiration, as the abdominal muscles are also going to help exert the pressure, so this value can become more positive, even you can say to positive 30, let's suppose, right? Positive 30, right? Forceful expiration. We are discussing forceful expiration, right? Okay. Are you guys getting me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So as I'm forcefully expiring, we already discussed that pleural pressure is going to become more positive. For example, let me give an arbitrary number that is 30. So this 30 forceful pressure is going to act on your alveoli, right? It would just try to squeeze your alveoli. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, but the elastic forces which are present within your alveoli is also going to add some force. Let's suppose it's adding plus 10 extra force, because we know that this force is going to squeeze your alveoli, but the elastic forces are also going to squeeze your alveoli. We already know that. So both of the vectors have same direction. So those vectors who have same direction, we can simply add them. So in the end, we'll be having plus 40 mm of Hg pressure here. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So now when this plus 40 air pressure is experienced inside the alveoli, so what happens? Now the air is going to move outward. But as the air is moving outward, what happens? Suddenly the pressure values are going to drop down. 35, right? Okay, not 35. Okay, just let's start from 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, and 30. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Hello? As we are expiring the air outward, so suddenly the pressure is going to drop downward, right? Okay. So a time would come that it would reach 30 mm of Hg pressure, right? But this structure normally where we are having, okay, so you can see this 30 was equal as that of this 30, right? So now we have equal pressure, right? We have equal pressures, right? Like plus 30 and 30 outward. It's an equal pressure point, right? Because outward we are having same 30 mm of Hg, and somewhere here within the lungs we are having same 30 mm of Hg. So at this point, whenever we have same value of the pressure, so they would just cancel out one another, and now the elastic forces are only going to act. Does that make sense? 30 would cancel the 30, right? So now the elastic, you only have the influence of elastic forces to collapse this structure. Am I right?
Yes.
So can I say that at equal pressure point, there is a tendency to collapse? Can I say that?
Doctor, could you please repeat the last point? I did not understand.
Okay. So, for example, if an individual is forcefully expiring, so we are just making this pressure more positive. For example, positive 30, right? Okay. So this positive 30 is going to, it's going to collapse the lungs. Am I right? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Please participate. So this positive 30 is going to collapse the lungs, but we know that the intrinsic nature of your elastic forces in your alveoli also tend to collapse the lungs. So both of these forces are acting in same direction. So let's add both of them. For example, if we have 10 mm of Hg pressure, that is basically due to the elastic forces. So let's add that. So in the end, we are having 40 mm of Hg of total pressure, which would tends to collapse the lungs. Is it clear till now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So as the air is moving outward, we are going to have a drop of pressure. Pressure is going to drop, right?
I didn't understand this part. Why is it dropping? Why is it not like 40-40 going equally out?
Okay. Because we are expelling air out, right? It's same as I have a balloon. The balloon was closed, right? But if I open the balloon, all of the air is going to move out. So for example, in the balloon, if it was 40 mm of Hg, if air is moving out, it would suddenly drop down. 39, 38, 37, start slowly. So if I'm breathing outward into the air, so won't it drop down gradually,
Yes. Okay. Got it. Got it. Thank you. Yeah.
right? So it would just drop down gradually. And a point would come where you will be having 30 mm of Hg due to that gradual drop. So this 30 is same as that of the outward 30, right? So at this point, the 30 equals 30. Now there is a tendency to collapse. Is it clear?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. But in normal individual, it do not happen. Why? Because in normal individual, this equal pressure point lies at cartilaginous structure. At cartilaginous structures, right? And the cartilaginous structures can't be collapsed. So normally we do not have collapse during forceful expiration. Why? Because the equal pressure point lies in the cartilaginous region. Cartilages cannot be collapsed. Am I right?
Yes. Yes. They can't.
Okay.
They don't have.
Now let's discuss a condition which is emphysema. What happens in emphysema? Okay, we'll be discussing, Dr. Muaz is going to discuss that in detail, but the main theme of emphysema is that we are going to lose the elastic forces, right? The elastic forces are lost. Like we'll be discussing that alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency or smoking, the pan-acinar emphysema and centri-acinar emphysema, everything in detail. But the main theme of emphysema is that we are going to lose that elastic forces, because here we are going to be having activation of macrophages. These macrophages are going to eat down the elastin forces of your alveoli. Is it clear?
Yes.
So now let's draw the same condition here, right? Again, I have an alveoli. I have this pleura. Again, we have a forceful expiration giving plus 30 mm of Hg pressure. Okay. But as this 30 is, okay, now it's this lung is having emphysema. So if initially it was just adding 10 mm of Hg pressure, now it will be adding only 5 mm Hg pressure. Does that make sense? Because the elastin forces are lost. Can I say that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let's add them. Now in total we have 35 mm of Hg pressure. So again, if I'm expiring, it have to drop down 34, 33, 32, 31, and 30. Previously, it was here in the cartilaginous structures, which could not be collapsed. Now the equal pressure point is moving here towards the muscular, smooth muscle structures within your bronchioles, right? So won't you think that it would get collapsed? Won't you think it would get collapsed now?
No. No.
Yes, it would
Yes.
collapse.
Yes.
Because the equal pressure point previously was in cartilaginous structure, but now it have shifted down towards the muscular structures, and muscles can be collapsed. The smooth muscles can be collapsed. Does that make sense? Yes or no?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor.
Is it clear?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So emphysema basically is, it's basically, we have categorized it under chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, right? We do not have an obvious obstruction there, right? But you guys know that, yes, we have obstruction, right? So if someone asks you a question that in emphysema, we are eating down all of the elastic forces, so why are we just categorizing it under chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases as we do not have an obvious obstruction there? But you guys should answer that. We are having obstruction. Why? Because the equal pressure point is going to drop down. It's going to move towards the muscular structure where during expiration we are going to have collapse. That's why emphysema is under COPD. Is it clear now?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, in cases of chronic bronchitis. So what is chronic bronchitis? In chronic bronchitis, simply, that's also a COPD, right? We are going to be having a lot of mucuses, right? Right? A lot of mucus is here present within the lungs. So as this air is moving, okay, there won't be any problem here. Like still you are going to be having a 40 mm of Hg pressure. But as this mucus is barrier, this air is hitting this mucus is barrier. So the pressure drop is going to be sudden, right? So if previously it was 34, now it would be 33. Again, the pressure hitting these mucus surfaces. So it would drop further more. And as it is drawing further more, so again, the equal pressure point is going to shift towards the muscular structure and we are going to be having obstruction. Is it clear?
Excuse me, could you please repeat the chronic bronchitis? Thank you.
Okay, so for example, if you have chronic bronchitis, what happens in chronic bronchitis? Okay, so the main theme for chronic bronchitis that a person is going to make tons of mucus, right? Right? Ton of mucuses.
Right.
So these
Yes.
mucuses are going to obstruct these places, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just, okay, these mucuses are going to obstruct these places. So if you have 40 mm of Hg now, as we are just moving air outward, right? So this 40 mm of Hg pressure is going to hit these barriers as well, right? Now there are barriers, right? And as the air is, like for example, if I'm just flowing air in a tube, okay, let me just give you a simple example. If I have a tube, I have connected it to an air medium and this is when you are blowing air outward, right? Or a blow dryer simply. Inside the blow dryer, if there is, let's suppose, accumulation of some, dust or something stuck in the middle, right? So the pressure is going to drop down here, right? Now outside of this blower, you will experience very less pressure, right?
Right.
The blow dryer is not able to now, bring more air outward due to obstruction here, right? So it means that the pressure is dropping more because all of the air is hitting that obstruction, right? And it's dropping down. So if it's dropping down, so in the end, we will be having very little pressure outside from this blow dryer. So similarly is that with chronic bronchitis. If you are having obstruction of the mucuses here, so what happens? It will drop down. The pressure drop is going to be more. So the equal pressure point, which was in the cartilaginous structure, again would come towards the muscular structures, right? And it would collapse. So the equal pressure point shift towards the alveoli. Can I say that? It's shifting towards the alveoli. That's why in emphysema and chronic bronchitis, we are having obstruction. Is it clear?
Yes, it's
Hello?
clear now. Thank you.
Okay. So you're going to be having a lot of MCQs based on this concept. They're going to definitely ask you in UWorld. You might have seen this MCQ in UWorld, right? Hello? The equal pressure point shift. Hello? You guys did UWorld with Dr. Hassan. So I think you guys must have seen this MCQ. If not now, so you will just see it in your future lectures in emphysema, right? So now you guys should know the concept, equal pressure point. What is equal pressure point? How do it shift towards alveoli? Why? In which conditions? Is it clear now? Shall I move towards next topic?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, perfect. So the next topic which we are going to discuss is lung volumes. right? So for that, I have to draw a simple graph, and we are going to discuss this graph. Okay. So the first one is tidal volume. What is tidal volume? Can you guys just tell me what is tidal volume?
It's the volume that with each quiet respiration. So it's the one that you don't have to like force out or in.
Perfect. So it's basically the volume of air in or out during quiet respiration, right? So this is the normal volume which is moving in and out without any force, without any consciousness. We are just breathing air in and out. That's simply your tidal volume, right? Okay. What's your inspiratory reserve volume? If forcefully I'm inspiring more, right, upon the top of your tidal volume, that's your inspiratory reserve volume, right? Is it clear? Inspiratory reserve volume is this one, right? Inspiratory reserve volume. That is the volume of air which I'm taking in. As I'm taking in the air, so the volume is going to increase, right? The graph is going to move upward, right? Hello?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
upon the top of tidal, keep that in mind, right? If I just normally expire, after normal expiration, what happens if I am forcefully expiring more? So as a result of that, what would happen? We are going to have inspiratory reserve volume. That's the value. Okay. What is expiratory reserve volume? Yes. This value
It's
is your.
the air that we
Mhm. Yes, please.
it's the air that
Air.
we breathe out
Okay. No, you tell.
after a normal expiration.
Okay. So it's the volume of air which we are expiring out from the baseline, right here. From the baseline, it's your expiratory reserve volume, right? And in the end, the volume which I cannot, expire out of my lungs, what would be that called?
Residual volume.
Residual volume.
volume.
Residual volume. Perfect. So now you guys know what are capacities. Whenever we add different volumes, that are known as capacity. So you guys are going to be telling me the capacities, different capacities. Yes. Functional
For
residual capacity. What is functional residual capacity?
it's the residual volume plus the expiratory reserve volume.
Volume plus
The residual volume.
plus expiratory reserve volume. Okay. So this volume is basically your functional residual capacity, and it's really important to know functional residual capacity. If you guys remember, I just told you that normally the tendency of your lungs are to collapse, right? And the tendency of your chest wall are to, yes, relax, right, or move outward or expand. Am I right? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
And I have told you that what happens, but in normal body they are present in a system, right? So in the end, we are going to be having -5 mm of Hg pressure outward. So remember, the functional residual capacity is the capacity of lung. Okay, so let me just give you a simple concept of that. Yeah, right. I'm just spending a lot of time on these concepts because I want you to be, master of this physiology, right? It involves a lot of physics concepts. These are your lungs. Let's suppose, right? These are your lungs. These are attached to your chest wall. Your chest wall is pulling the lungs towards this side while your lungs are collapsing. So there is a tug of war going on in between them. Can I say that? Tug of war. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so a time would come that no one will move. No one will move, right? For example, if you have 2% here and 2% here, a time would come that they'll be just pulling it towards them side, they'll be pulling it towards them side. And a time would come that this reference point is going to stay at one place because both of the forces are going to become equal, right? They would just get tired. And once they get tired, for example, if I have same let's suppose 50 kg person here and a 50 kg person here, both of them have same force. A time would come that they will apply constant same force and this reference point is going to stay at a single point. Is that right? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
The same situation is going on here as well. A tug of war going on. Your chest wall is going to expand it out while your lungs are going to collapse it down. And a time would come that you will be having a constant point here, right? So at that constant point, we discussed that the lungs are only going to be opened. The alveoli are only going to be open, and the pressure there was minus 5 mm of Hg, if you guys remember, right? So at that point, when both of the forces become equal, at that fixed point, the volume of air which is present in your lungs is your FRC. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So the FRC is the residual volume plus expiratory reserve volume. That's the same point where both of the forces become equals, right? Where both of the forces, the tug of war, become equal at a single point. Is that clear? So what is inspiratory capacity? Can anyone just tell me that?
Inspiratory reserve volume plus the tidal volume.
Perfect. So the tidal volume plus, like this point, okay? This is the capacity, inspiratory capacity. What is the vital capacity? This overall. The vital volume, the vital amount of volume which is moving through your lung is basically your vital capacity. And what is the total lung capacity if you add on the residual capacity? So that's going to be your total lung capacity. Right? So it's really simple, right? If you guys know the concept, you're going to be having a lot of MCQs and you can just correct them, okay? So yesterday, Dr. Hassan might have done these MCQs with you guys, okay? Shall I just move to the next topic?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay.
Doctor, I still don't understand the inspiratory capacity.
Okay. You didn't understand the
Inspiratory capacity.
inspiratory capacity, okay? So as the name indicates, what is capacity? Capacity is basically, you know, sum of two or different volumes, right?
Yes.
What is inspiratory capacity? What can I inspire? I can inspire tidal volume, and upon that, I can inspire inspiratory reserve volume. Am I right?
Yes.
This is the entire air which I can inspire. I cannot inspire more than that, right?
Yes.
So what is my capacity for inspiration, or what is my inspiration capacity? Just add both of them. Inspiratory reserve volume plus tidal volume.
Okay. I
Is it
understand.
clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. So let's discuss our next topic, which is, okay, just give me a second. We discussed surfactants, we discussed compliance, right? So let's just spend some time on compliance. I just discussed compliance in a big detail, if you guys remember. So I'm expecting you guys to be, you know, participating more. Yes, I just spent a lot of time on compliance. So you guys just please tell me what is compliance.
Compliance is the ability of the lung to compromise, basically.
The
About
ability of the lungs to expand,
Yes.
right? Okay, we discussed that compliance is inversely related to what?
Elasticity.
Elasticity.
And you know the concept. Why? Remember the shopping bag and the balloon?
Fitness.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's inversely related to elasticity. So let me ask you some questions. Okay. Okay. So can you guys just please give me 5 minutes? I'm just running out of my charge. You guys can have discussion till that. Just give me 5 seconds. I'm just bringing my charger. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. You guys can just discuss the concept if you guys have any problem or queries. You guys can just have a discussion with me.
Can someone explain compliance to me?
Actually, the compliance is the tendency to expand. It's the tendency of the alveoli to expand, and the elasticity is the opposite thing, and that's the lung recoil. And it is inversely, both are inversely related to each other. And what the surfactants do, surfactants basically reduce the surface tension. And surface tension forces are, if we are reducing the surface tension, so we will reduce the tendency to collapse. And we are also reducing the recoil, lung recoil. That's mean the lungs' ability to expand becomes more and the compliance become more.
So,
Okay.
Dr. Mariam, I have one doubt related to this. Like we learned right now that the pressures were equalizing lower in the alveoli in emphysema. The equalization was happening lower. That's why the muscular bronchioles were getting blocked in emphysema. So if they are getting blocked, how is the lung taking more air and more compliance in emphysema?
Yes, I have also doubt in it because I have also to ask from Dr. Ahmed how in the emphysema there is increased tendency to comply. Compliance is getting increased because we just
I
discussed
can,
that
I think I can
the
explain that.
lungs will collapse. We discussed
Yeah.
the same
Elasticity is
question.
decreased in emphysema. Elastin is destroyed. That's why there is
No, no,
No,
the,
he didn't say that
lungs.
the lung will
the
collapse.
equal pressure point is getting decreased, and the equal pressure point when it get decreased, the lungs will collapse.
No,
We
the bronchus, he
Hmm?
said the bronchus will get
He said
closed. The
bronchioles will
bronchus,
collapse.
he said the equal pressure point is reaching close to the muscular part of the
Mhm,
bronchus, and
mhm,
it has the tendency to collapse. So there
mhm.
I thought if it is collapsing, how
Yes,
is your lung getting more air and complying
more.
easily and filling more?
Yes,
Is my doubt.
this is also my doubt too. I have also to ask from Dr. Ahmed to clear this query. I have also in
Okay, okay, okay,
yes,
okay. Thank you,
yes,
Hello,
thank you.
hello,
yes.
hello. What were your queries?
Uh, yes, Dr. Ahmed, we have to ask from you as we have
Mhm.
learned the equal pressure point get decreased in the
Okay. Before, okay. The answer is really simple. The lungs are collapsing during inspiration or expiration.
expiration.
I think that's the answer for your question.
Uh, but in emphysema, you
Mhm.
also said in emphysema, this pressure point also getting decreased
Uh-huh.
towards the level of the smooth muscles levels,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
that's why the lungs ability to collapse becomes more
During expiration.
during expiration. Yes,
Mhm.
it
But
it
during
is
inspiration,
okay. And in
compliance is seen during inspiration.
and the in emphysema, the
Mhm.
compliance increase. Okay, that's
Yes.
increase only during inspiration, not on.
What is compliance? Ability to expand.
Yes. Yes, only that point is only on the expiration. Okay, okay, got it.
Okay, thank you so much. I got it. Thank you.
Okay. So that answer was really simple for your question, right? Compliance
Yes.
is
Thank you, thank you.
lungs to expand, not lung to contract, right? So during okay, during emphysema, what happens? During emphysema, basically what happens? We are going to be having okay, what happens to elastic structures? That's very simple. What happens to elasticity?
It's decreased.
Decreases
It
Collapse.
What,
decreases.
so what happens to compliance?
in
Compliance
Compliance
increase.
increased as
Increases.
their inversely
Increase.
proportional.
So
Increases.
can I say that now it's easy for me to lungs to expand, and expansion is during inspiration. Let me remind it again, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So another thing which you should just keep in mind. Okay, with aging, what happens? What happens to elastic tissues with aging?
Decrease.
Decreased. Also
Decreases.
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 Decreases. So what happens to elasticity during aging?
Decrease.
Decreases.
decreases
What
and
happens to
compliance
compliance
increases.
during
Compliance
aging?
increase.
Increases. Increases.
Compliance increase.
During compliance increases during ages.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. You know, now you know the concept. I'll be just telling you the diseases. You guys are going to tell me the answer. Okay. Okay. So we have pulmonary fibrosis. We are laying down more fibrous materials, or it's same as I'm just increasing the elasticity. So what would happen to the compliance?
Yeah, that will decrease.
Decreases.
Decrease.
It means it's difficult for me to expand lungs during inspiration, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, okay. For example, if I have an individual with NRDS, Neonatal respiratory distress syndrome, right? What happened to surface tension there?
Increase.
Surface tension
Increase.
Increases.
Seconds are
Increases.
decreased and surface
Increases.
tension is increased.
Okay.
Crisis.
So can I say that the elastic forces and the surface tension, both of them are same direction vector? I can add them. So what happens to elasticity?
Increase.
Increases.
What happens to compliance in NRDS?
Compliance is decreased.
Decrease.
You guys can see you are just answering a lot of UWorld MCQs. These kind of MCQs you are going to see on your NBMEs, on UWorld and everything, right? But if you know this is single formula, you can just, you know, get a lot of correct, right? Okay, so let me just ask you another thing. Pulmonary edema. In pulmonary edema, what happens to the surfactants?
Decrease.
Surfactants decreases. What happens to surface tension?
Increases.
Increases.
What happens to
Increases.
compliance?
Compli-
Increases.
Decreases.
Decrease.
Decrease.
compliance decrease.
Yes,
Decrease.
yes.
It goes down. Decrease.
Compliance decreases, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that was all about compliance, right? If you guys know the concept, everything is going to be like, you know, so easy for you guys. Okay, so let's discuss resistance. That's also a really, you know, good topic, and at the same time conceptual as well, right? So systemic resistance. Can you guys just tell me what is resistance, by the way? Then we are going to move what is you know, different values of resistance, what happens to resistance, airflow and everything. Hello? What is resistance? First of all, we should know what is resistance. You guys know a lot of stuff, but you did not know the definition of resistance. I know everyone knows resistance.
When the
But what's the
vascular
definition?
diameter reduces, the resistance increases. It's inverse relationship with the
Okay, what
diameter.
is resistance? You know the
Pressure,
relationship.
pressure by the arterial wall.
Resistance is
Pressure
Is
by
that
the
basically
arterial
the
wall.
work that
Meaning
the body has to do.
apposition of the airflow within the respiratory system from
Okay,
entering the
perfect. It's
airways of the
basically a
lungs.
resistance, an opposition, right? An opposition to the air.
Opposition.
Okay, perfect, right?
Opposition,
So,
yeah.
yes, perfect. So if you guys remember, we discussed something, if you guys remember the series circuits and parallel circuits, remember?
Yes. Yes.
Series and parallel circuit. Keeping that thing in mind, let me ask you a question. The resistance, where are we going to have more resistance? In the trachea or in all of your bronchioles?
In trachea.
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 Why?
Yeah.
Because it stretches.
Because in bronchiole, collectively, they have like less resistance. In trachea have more.
Yeah, because the collective diameter of the bronchioles is bigger compared to the trachea.
Perfect. That okay, and it's same as it's basically a parallel circuit example. It's an example of parallel circuit. In the parallel circuit, if you are increasing the resistance, so the overall resistance would decrease, as we discussed in detail. You guys know that, okay? So the resistance in the trachea is going to be more because it's a single structure. But if you just keep on adding the diameter of those millions of bronchioles, so what would happen? The overall resistance is going to be less. That's one thing you guys should keep in mind, okay? So lung volumes and airway resistance. Okay. Let's discuss COPD and restrictive lung diseases. Can anyone just tell me what is COPD, what is restrictive lung diseases, which we are going to discuss in detail? Yes.
In COPD, there is obstruction of the airflow, air trapping in the
In
lungs.
COPD, we have obstruction to
Of
the
the
airflow,
Yeah, and
right?
air is
It
trapped in
means
the
that
lungs.
the air cannot move outward due to obstruction, right?
Yes, due to
Yes.
So
mucus.
won't we be seeing trapping of air?
Yes,
Yes.
trapping of air.
Yes. We'll be seeing trapping of air.
Okay, perfect. What is your restrictive lung diseases?
there is
The
Quite-
lung cannot expand enough in restrictive lung
lungs,
diseases.
lung alveoli become sticky to each other, and the elasticity become increased, and the Traction
Let's
becomes
make
more
it really simple. Let's make it
The
restrictive
decreased
lung
lung
disease.
volumes.
Mhm.
Your lungs are restricted towards filling,
Yeah, they can expand.
right? Lungs are restricted towards filling. Why are they restricted towards filling? Because we have more elasticity, we have more fibrosis, right? If we have a thick rubber band, and I'm just telling you to, okay, if I just take a tire, a car tire, that's also rubbery. If I'm just telling you to expand that, can you expand it? No.
No.
It's
No.
difficult.
No, it's
No.
It's
hard.
difficult
It's
for you to
hard.
expand. Only the high pressure can expand it, right? So it's difficult towards expansion. So as we have, why? Because it's more elastic, right? So as the elasticity increases in case of fibrosis or restrictive lung diseases, so you are basically restricting the lungs towards filling, right? The lungs is restricted towards filling. Is it clear?
Yes.
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 So the lung volume become reduced.
Yes, so the lung volumes become reduced. Yes, that's also one point. So now we'll be discussing, okay. So so let's discuss obstructive lung disease. So in obstructive lung disease, basically we are having an obstruction or resistance. Am I right? For example, in COPD and bronchitis, I was also having an obstruction due to EPP moving downward, right? That's still an obstructive case, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in
Yes.
emphysema, the increased pleural pressure is going to tend to the collapsed airway, right? So the airway are going to be collapsed because EPP is moving downward, right? Is it right? Similarly, in asthma is also an obstructive lung disease. What happens is asthma is again constriction of bronchioles. And why do we have that constriction? You guys know the answer. If you do not know, Dr. Moss tomorrow is going to discuss that. Okay, different leukotrienes and inflammation is going to lead to bronchoconstriction here. Okay. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
In the restrictive lung diseases, the main theme is that we are going to be having fibrosis. We will be discussing that in detail. Okay, in our pathology section. So yes. Okay. Obstructive lung diseases and restrictive lung diseases. So let's discuss our pulmonary function testing. That's really important, right? Pulmonary function. You might have here FEV1 to FVC ratio. What is FEV1? What is FVC? And what's the ratio? And how is it going to indicate your restrictive or obstructive lung diseases? That's really important. Okay. So it's going to be the last topic for today. Okay. And tomorrow, Dr. Moaz is going to take pathology section. If he didn't, so I'll be revising the blood physiology with you guys as well tomorrow, right? So tomorrow our physiology is going to end. The revision of physiology, by the way, not physiology, okay? The physiology of respiratory system is really important. You should just spend a lot of time on it, okay? You should just revise whatever we have learned. So let's discuss FEV1. Can anyone just tell me what is FEV1?
Force
Forced expiratory volume.
per second.
Okay, let's make it very simple. The amount of air we are expelling out, okay, we normally expire outward, right? So the amount of air which we expire in the first second of expiration is your FEV1, right? So the air expelled in the first second. And remember, during expiration, the air which we expel out in the first second is going to be more, right? So the more of most of the air which we expire is going to be in the first second, right? That's why FEV1 is a really important indicator of telling whether we have a restrictive lung disease or we have an obstructive lung disease, which I'm going to discuss in a while, right? So FEV1 is the total air expelled in 1 second. Okay. Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So for example, if we have COPD and if we have an obstruction, we already discussed that case, for example, bronchitis. So what do you think will happen to FEV1?
It reduces more.
Reduces.
Okay, it would reduce. It would reduce more. Okay. Okay. In case of restrictive lung diseases, what will happen to FEV1 and why?
It will be increased.
Increase.
It also reduces.
Yeah, because the
No, it decreases. Reduce,
It
not increase.
decreases. It decreases, not
It
increasing.
decreases. It
Or
can
normal.
be normal, but it can be normal or a little bit decrease. And what's the idea behind that? If we are having fibrosis, more elastic tissues, We do not have obstruction here. We do not have any obstruction in case of restrictive lung diseases, but still we have restriction towards filling. So it means that at the first time, less air is entering into your lungs at first place, right? Less air is entering into your lung at first place as compared to a normal individual. So if we are expiring, so in that first second, we are going to expire less as compared to a normal individual or even normal, right? So there isn't an obvious obstruction present. So it can decrease, but to a little extent, either it can be normal. Why is it decreased? Because at first place, we are bringing less air in. Why? Because your lungs are restricted towards fill. And it can be normal because elasticity increases, right? Due to increased elasticity, you can somehow normalize the FEV1 with a normal individual. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So the next thing is force vital capacity. What is force vital capacity? Do you guys have any idea? It's the air expired in that total breath or total breath, right? I have expired total. That's basically force vital capacity. We already discussed that, right? Okay. Hello?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
So what happens in obstructive lung diseases? Obstructive lung diseases, the FVC is going to be decreased, right? Because we have an obstruction. We have air trapping. Not all of the air as compared to normal individual we can expire due to that obstruction or resistance. Is it clear?
Yes.
No? But if we compare the FEV1 as compared to FVC, so FEV1 is decreased more because in that first second, most of the air is going to move out. And in that first second, all of the resistance is going to be experienced in that first second. So if we take a ratio of FEV1 to FVC, what would happen as a result of that? Yes.
Reduces.
If the FEV1 reduces more and FVC reduces, so the overall ratio is going to be decrease more because the nominator is decreasing more, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, what would happen to FVC in case of restrictive lung diseases? Again, the idea is really simple. At first place, we are bringing less air, right? Less air into the lungs,
Lung.
right?
Lungs.
So the total air which we are expiring is going to be less. So obviously, the FVC is going to be less. So as we discussed, let's discuss FEV1 to FVC ratio. So we discuss FEV1 is going to decrease or either it can be normal. Okay, and the FVC also decreases. If both of them are decreasing a little bit, so won't it be a normal value or a little bit greater than normal?
Normal or
Normal, little
Normal.
bit increase.
No.
Yeah.
0.8 is the normal value or a little bit increase,
Yes.
right? Because if it's normal or close to normal, I just told you that FE1 is close to normal, and if you are decreasing this value, if you are just so what happens? The overall ratio is going to be slightly greater or not. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So this FEV1 and FVC is really important in order to, whenever they are just telling that the FEV1 to FVC ratio is 0.8, so think of any restrictive lung disease. I'll be just in the lectures once we are revising these pathologies, the restrictive and obstructive. I'll just make it really easy for you guys. So did you guys enjoy this physiology session with me?
Yes.
Yes,
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 sir.
doctor.
Thank you,
Doctor,
Okay,
I have a
doctor.
question.
Yes, please.
I have a question, doctor. So I don't know. So to resume is because I've been having problems with this. So with obstructive lung disease is getting the air out and restrictive is getting the air into the lungs. Is that correct?
Okay. In obstructive lung disease, we have obstruction. So it's difficult for me to get air out of your lungs. In the restrictive,
Okay.
it's difficult for me to get air into the lungs.
Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes. Restrictive to get air into the lungs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You can
obstructive to
simply
get air out.
think of whenever you see restrictive. Okay, there was some restrictive pericarditis, if you guys remember. So whenever you see the word restrictive, it's basically restriction towards filling. Restriction towards filling. Restriction towards filling, right? So if you are restricting anything towards filling, it means it's difficult to fill that thing, right? If it's your heart, if it's your lungs. Okay.
Yeah.
I know
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Liaison means that, doctor, that the area is fibrosed. It's having
Yes,
fibrosis.
it's having fibrosis, a lot of elasticity, very difficult to expand that. Okay. So, okay. So Dr. Hasnain is going to take class today at right after 3 hours. Right after 3 hours. That's I guess 11 EST, something like that. Okay. I'll just notify you guys in the group. And as you guys have already did physiology with, Dr. Moaz, Dr. Hasnain, they're really good mentors, really good tutors. But sometimes I feel that I should just, add on a little bit. I just contribute a little bit. So that was, my little contribution. Hope so you guys enjoyed. And see you up in the next session. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Whoa.